Welcome to Pondering Passages. I'm so glad that you have joined us today. I hope that you stick around. We're going to be talking about Psalm 125. It's a beautiful psalm, short, has some interesting insights into it. I'll be honest, it didn't really wow me this week, but that doesn't mean God doesn't want to speak through it. So hang around, be a part of the conversation, and we will see you very soon. Welcome back to Pondering Passages. We are diving into pondering the passage of Psalm 125 this week. And we have been reading that every day. I've been reading it not every day. Have you read it every day?
I've read it every day because it's like 5 verses, man.
I know, but I had other things going on. So
it's 5 verses.
I've been reading other stuff, and I didn't get to. I read it 1 or 2 days, and it's like, this one's boring. I don't want to read this anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that's not true. That's not the reason. But
yeah.
All right, so we're back. We're going to talk about it and see what it has to offer to us. It's only 5 verses, so it's all fits on. As Dave said, I mailed in the slides this week because I just put them on
just one slide.
I know. I could have blown them up and made them bigger. But we're talking about this, another song of ascent for ascending to Jerusalem, going up to the holy city. And Psalm 125, it doesn't give any attribution to David or Solomon or anything like that, but it's a part of that grouping. So what do you think, Dave? What do you think about this particular
I did not find it boring. I liked it. You know, I'm kind of surprised you didn't track with it. I mean, it talks about the mountains surrounding Jerusalem, and you've been there.
I love the mountains around Jerusalem.
Yeah, and from what I've read, because I have not been there, there's mountains actually surrounding Jerusalem.
It's a very hilly area, very mountainous area. It's beautiful. If you ever get a chance to go, really take the opportunity, maybe when people aren't shooting at each other and they're, bombing one another, but go and just experience it. It puts into context everything you read, especially in the New Testament. Full disclosure, most of the stuff that you see is you can't say that it's authentic. It's like, we don't know that that's the tree that was there. We were going to the place where Jesus ascended into heaven, supposedly. And there's a rock with little indents that look like toes must have pushed off, and left an indent into it. And so we all get off the buses and we walk through this gated area, and there's a blind man there, he's got a stick and he's holding out his cup, and we all surround this rock and we're taking pictures of a rock with indents in it. And Herb was with me, and he nudged me and we look back at the blind man, and he's counting his coins. He's poured them out into his hand. He's counting his coins, putting them in his pocket, and then he holds his hand back out. It's like, I'm not sure that everything here is real. I think this may not be that way.
It might not be the same blind man.
May not be. But all of that to say, if you can get a chance to go, you get to see this amazing place that the psalmists write about, that Jesus walked in. You kind of alluded to this a few weeks ago about the fact that Jesus was there. And so when you're walking these streets, you think, oh my gosh, Jesus may have walked right along in this area. And it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I thought about that. I thought about your trip there, and I thought, well, yeah, you would have seen how the mountains kind of surround Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And the psalmist uses that as a simile to how the Lord surrounds his people, and how those who trust in the Lord are secure. They will not be defeated, but will endure forever, because he's surrounding them and he's protecting them.
Sure. I really
go ahead.
I really liked verse 4.
Verse 4. Okay. What about verse 3? You're just going to skip over verse 3. The wicked will not rule the land of the godly, for then the godly might be tempted to do wrong.
I didn't get that. because it appears worldwide that everybody is ruled by the ungodly.
Yeah. Well, if you think about, especially the Old Testament with the kings, one of the things you notice is that the path the king takes ends up being the path the people take.
Yeah.
If the king is worshiping, idols and other gods, the people end up following suit.
Sure.
And I think it's still the case today.
It's
We
disheartening.
it is disheartening.
So as I read verse 3, I understood that was it. It reflected back on when the wise men told Herod that there was a new king born.
Yeah.
It says that Herod was troubled and all of Israel with him.
Yes. Yeah.
And that idea that, the leaders really set the tone, and I'm sure all of Israel was troubled because this was not a nice guy, and he was willing to kill babies just to get his way. And so everybody would have been. So the wicked will not rule. I guess that's what was troubling to me, is the wicked will not rule the land of the godly. It just feels like sometimes they do anyway,
Yeah. And I guess I'm keying off of, for then the godly might be tempted to do wrong. There are times when, like you said, the wicked rule, even in the psalmist day. I mean, he knew this. I don't think he was naive to say, "Oh, this doesn't happen." But maybe his biggest point is about the godly being tempted to do wrong, because maybe they say the same thing you do, Curt. It's like, well, gosh, what are you talking about? We're being ruled. I think they believe this was written during the exile.
A lot of them weren't they?
I think, yeah, I think so. And so, here they're dealing with this, that the wicked are ruling over them. But the one thing, they have no control over that. But the one thing they do have control about is being tempted to do wrong.
Yeah.
And that could really lead you into verse 4.
Yeah. I loved that whose hearts are in tune with you.
Yeah, I did too.
I really liked that. There was something about that desire in my own heart to be in sync with what God wants. Those who are good, not necessarily kind to others, or good as we like to use it, that he was a good guy.
Yeah.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
And I loved that synchronicity with the desire of God's own heart. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And I'm convinced that, someone called Jesus good teacher in one of the Gospels, and Jesus kind of took him to task and saying, who are you calling good? There's only one who's good.
Yeah.
And you can take that back to Adam and Eve, because at that point there is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and they had to trust God in defining what was good and what wasn't. But then they took matters in their own hands, because they wanted that knowledge for themselves, to be able to choose good and evil themselves. But we've proven that we're not good at doing that. But to do good to those who are good, that is God's nature. That's his character, to do good to all. And I would say not even to those who are good. I think his character is to do good to those who are not good. But here's the thing: when you're not aligned with him, when your heart is not in tune with him, you do not find that goodness that he is trying to lead you to, because you are choosing to go a different path.
Which he then says in 5, right?
Yeah.
Those who turn away. And this is an interesting, the second part of verse 5, take them away. So banish those who turn to crooked ways.
Yeah.
That's one group. Those who do crooked ways, turn to crooked ways, take them away with those who do evil. So it's not, I don't think, now maybe you may have a different opinion about this, but it does not appear to be a expounding on crooked ways. It seems like he's saying there's a crooked ways group, and then there's an evil group.
Mm.
And, now sometimes they will say, the sun rises over the mountains. Yes, the sun shines on those who, and so it's kind of a expanding on this idea. To me, as I read verse 5, it was actually two different groups. And maybe I'm wrong, but
well, I don't know. I mean, I think you can make that argument. I'm thinking about, and again, I'm not an expert in Hebrew poetry at all, but parallelism. I think that's right. I might be pronouncing it wrong. The second line a lot of times kind of expands on the first line, kind of re-explaining it. But
which
yeah,
verse 4 certainly
it does.
Is, right?
It does. Yeah, exactly. And so it could be that he's talking about two different groups. It could be that he's really talking about the same group, that those who turn to crooked ways or do evil, but then you constantly have those folks. It's not just a one-time deal. It's all the time. But nevertheless, I think there are a lot of places where we can kind of find some formation, our own formation through this, especially verse 4.
So
especially verse 4.
Let's revisit that. We haven't talked about that in a really long time. How we are not reading for information, but formation. And so kind of play that out for us. Lay that out so that we are reminded what we're doing.
Well, if we're focused on information, I would either get, Google up or go to one of the commentaries and start looking up this passage. What is the psalmist talking about? Is it one group? Is it two? What does he mean by this? And we can go through and look at what it means to be secure as Mount Zion. Again, this is poetry, but there's always something behind the poetry. What is it? When you're looking at formation, you're going to have those informational questions, but you kind of lay those aside and say, where in this do I find myself? And what is the passage asking of me? And again, I could see a lot of places. What does it mean for me to trust in the Lord? What does it mean for me to be secure as Mount Zion? What does it mean about me? If I believe that the land is being ruled by the wicked all across the world, what does it mean for me to be tempted to do wrong? Where am I being tempted to do wrong? That could be a formative question. But then, for me, I really focus on verse 4, more the positive than the negative. What does it mean for me to be in tune with the purposes of God?
Right. And that's what I underlined as well. But I appreciate that reminder that's not what we are trying to do, is to be informational.
Right.
That is not the goal of this conversation.
And there are a lot of places where you can find the informational stuff. And I'm not saying that is not important, nor, or I'm not saying it's not needed. The reality is that we spend more time in the informational sphere than we do the formational sphere. And for me, it's always a question of what good does it do if I know all the dates, times, and places and everything behind Scripture, but yet my life, I'm not kind to others. I don't show love to others. I'm just very selfish and self-centered, and I fly off the handle when things don't go my way.
I told you that in confidence, Dave. You're not supposed to.
I did not use your name, Curt. But now they know, now they know.
The beans have been spilled.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of, as an aside, that has nothing to do with Psalm. Did you see that somebody's doing that at a golf course?
Spilling the beans?
They're filling the holes on the greens with canned beans.
A little snack.
It's like, what are you thinking? What is the I mean, they're leaving the can on the green. They're pouring it out in the hole and just throwing the can.
Some people's kids.
The beans. So here's the thing we haven't talked about yet. verse 5, what would it be? C, I guess. May Israel have peace.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, what if that's what if that's the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, that could have been thrown in later, when they were setting this up and it's starting to storm here. So hopefully
Is
we
it?
can get this in. Yeah. Yeah. There's
Oh,
thunder.
cool.
I don't know if that's coming through, but there's some
Mm-mm.
thunder going on. It might have been added later when they were kind of assembling everything together for the Psalms of Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or it could have been the psalmist saying, this is really the prayer for peace. And it's when our hearts are in tune with God that we have peace.
Yeah.
And as I've probably said on Pondering Psalms before, Dr. Adrian von Kahm would say, when you push past the pace of grace, you lose your peace. And really, I think what he was saying was, when we're in tune or in harmony with God, there is this deep-seated peace within us. And it's when we get out of step with that we start feeling this dissonance and this fragmentation. And it's kind of like, well, gosh. And that's a signal to stand back and say, okay, God, what's going on here? Where have I gotten out of step? What are you trying to share with me through this dissonance that I'm feeling, this loss of peace?
Yeah, I mean, I think then again, I return to verse 4. I mean, for me, and it's the only thing I underlined in this whole passage as I read it both days, that verse 4 was for that whose hearts are in tune with you. And I really felt like that's what God was saying to me was, what do I need to do to get my heart in tune with God? What is it that how do I need to live in such a way that is central to my being?
That's a great question. And I don't think we should just pass up verses 1 and 2. The security about God surrounding his people. Of course, he's surrounding them with goodness, about being secure. And you can define that a lot of different ways.
Sure.
Sometimes it isn't exactly what we think. It doesn't mean that there won't be problems or negative things happening, but yet within, the Lord is surrounding us and we are secure. We are secure in him. And you get to the point, and I might get the quote wrong, but St. John of the Cross said, all well and good if everything changes, O Lord, as long as I'm rooted in you. It's one of my favorite quotes to remind me that everything will change. There'll be turmoil, but yet you find security and that peace that passes all understanding because you're tuning your heart with the heart of God.
Yeah.
And he brings goodness. And again, he's defining what that goodness is. We might not always define it as good, but we can have confidence that whatever he is handing to us is good. And at some point, maybe when we look back, like the life of Joseph, we look back, we can realize that, you know what, I didn't think it was good, but it really was. I needed that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think it's so much easier as you get older to be able to reflect back on those times. It's hard to do when you're in your 30s, your 40s.
It is.
Because you're right in the midst of it. I've got a good friend who's trying to figure out his life in that age. And he's trying to figure out, what do I do next? What do I do next? He's forward looking. And it's hard to see that God is, I think he firmly believes that God is a part of that journey. But it's hard to say that this thing that's happening is going to end up working out for a very good thing.
Curt, I told you that in confidence.
Yeah. So, well, and you and I have been talking offline about a situation in my life that, when I was very, very young, some things changed and it worked out for the good.
Yeah.
It really did. I mean, I would never have known, well, I don't know what it did, but I can look back now and say all these good things came from that moment.
Yeah.
They would not, there might have been other good things if that particular issue had not happened. But I can clearly say that these 18, 19, maybe 20 good things, they're immeasurable, right?
Yeah.
What good things happen.
Yeah. And so, my takeaway is just, trusting in him, that he will surround me, that his character is good and he pours goodness into my life. And for me to be in harmony and in step with that is just going to be a blessing. Even if it's difficult at the time, it will end up being a blessing.
Imagine if you just were able to end every day and not, just by may Israel have peace, but
Yeah.
God, may I have peace.
Yeah.
Show me how.
With what's going on, and
Yeah.
trusting him.
Yeah.
That he's going to, like a master artist, it's just one paint or one color in this picture that he is painting.
Yeah.
And so it might not be a very attractive color, but when he puts it all together, you look and say, man, what a masterpiece you've done with my life.
Yeah.
Much better than my attempts. So
certainly, at least for me.
Well,
thank you very much.
It is pouring down here.
That's cool. Hey, if you've been watching these, if you've been following along and you want to follow even more, we encourage you to like us. Click on the down here in this little corner, that, and follow us on YouTube. If you want to like us on Facebook, if you want to just reach out and have a conversation, put something in there. We'd love to talk to you.
And I'll also say, when you like or subscribe or even comment, it will help other people find this. So if this has been helpful to you and you think, hey, this might be helpful to some other folks, go ahead and do those things, because then it will start showing up in their feed, and they might just randomly click on it, and who knows what God might do.
That's right. We don't know. I don't know. I just don't know.
I know it'll be good.
It'll be part of that painting.
Yes.
All right, folks, thank you very much. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. And I decided I was going to start off, and I said, every day I say something I regret. And sometimes it's something minor, and sometimes it's a major thing. But yeah,
what
every
do you
day.
regret saying today?
I think there's still time.